Welcome everybody, this is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gav and Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and references will be given when necessary.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well, how's it going with you, Gav?
Yeah, very good. I am glad it's today and not another day, because today I can relax.
Is it Friday?
It is.
Yeah, me too. It's been a long week and it's nice to stop.
So what's your Friday like?
What's my Friday like? It's a bit like the other days, except it's Friday and I haven't got to get up tomorrow morning.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have a lighter Friday?
Now I do, just for the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's
That's
quite good because it's quite intense at the beginning of the week, and then as I go along it gets a bit easier, and Friday, yeah, is quite an easy day.
Nice, it's a mini Saturday.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, it's easier than the other days. What's your Friday like, Gav?
My Friday is kind of intense, and then it finishes after lunch and I can chill.
Right. So it's a heavy morning of lessons.
Yeah, some chillaxation in the late afternoon.
Nice noun. Are you still online?
I am, yeah.
Me too.
I can't get offline. I seem to be online a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, I've not gone back to face either, so still on the computer.
Yeah, okay. And are you finding that challenging?
No, I think I've got into the groove, right? Just going along quite nicely. I'm starting to think, what will I do when things go back to normal? Or maybe they won't, I don't know. If they go back to normal. That's a question, but
Okay.
I'm going to cross that bridge when I come to it.
Okay, all right, good. Well, I thought this episode, as it's episode 4 of season 2, that we could do a bit of a chat, Em. A chat with Gav and Em.
I'm happy to chat, Gav, but does season 2, episode 4 have some meaning?
Well,
You said as it's season 2, episode 4, like it had a significance.
No, not really. Well, I don't know. We've had some amazing episodes so far. I thought we could take this opportunity to have a little reflection and just chill, chat, and share.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I've prepared some questions that I thought we could talk about, maybe discuss some things reflecting our experience of teaching, maybe some personal anecdotes or some thoughts that we have on some teaching and learning topics.
Okay. Fire away.
Yeah? Okay. Well, it's not a quick fire round. It's
Oh.
it's going to be just kind of chatting.
All right. Go.
It's not like that. It's a conversation.
Okay. Well, what's your first question then?
Okay. Well, Em, I would like you to start by telling us a teaching tip.
A teaching tip. Just
Yes.
any teaching tip.
Just anything. What's the first thing that comes to mind? A teaching tip for our teacher listeners, or maybe our curious students.
Probably don't stress is a good tip, because whatever happens, it just makes it worse.
What do you mean by stress?
If you're in a difficult lesson with some difficult students, or you're teaching something very difficult and you find that you haven't prepared, or
Hold on. All right. There's a lot of information there. So difficult students?
well, maybe they're not in the right mood for the lesson and they're just very withdrawn, or they're being a little bit argumentative maybe, and you're not sure how it's going, and
A difficult topic? Difficult
could be
grammar?
like, yeah, it could be that you're not sure how to teach something, like you're doing third conditional and you haven't prepared it enough and you realise that you don't actually know what the grammar is, or you've done it wrong or whatever. Just don't stress about it, because it just makes it worse.
Okay.
I think you've just got to try and somehow manage that difficulty. Maybe if it's grammar, you look at the book or you throw it back at the students for a few minutes.
Literally?
Well, you just sort of say, well, what do you think? And then spend some time thinking yourself.
Okay. That's a good strategy. So when you actually run out of ideas and you
Yeah.
need a moment to kind of gather your thoughts, and
Yeah.
work out the answer to some questions, then you can say to the students, well, what do you think, first of all,
Yes.
before I tell you the answer? And then it
Yes.
gives you a moment to think about what you want to say.
And even if you've got the opportunity to say, right, with your partner, which gives you even more time and actually takes the focus off of you completely.
Okay.
So then you can just quickly look in your reference books or Google it or whatever, or just take a little moment to relax. But I think stress does not help.
Okay.
So as much as you feel stressed, it's not going to give you any skills, I don't think, that would not be there.
Well, some people thrive on stress.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned this before. But all right, I'm giving myself advice here. Yeah, if I was to give myself advice, it's don't stress.
Okay. But that's hard to say, because if somebody is stressing and you say, hey, don't stress, that probably wouldn't help.
Yeah, well, you're not stressing. You're asking me what the advice is, which
Yeah.
is just try not to stress.
Okay.
And just trust yourself. Maybe just don't worry so much. We've talked about imposter syndrome. I still get it. I just think at some point you have to say, well, I can do this.
Imposter syndrome is where you feel that you're not qualified to do this particular job or this
Yeah.
task.
Yeah.
And some people might suffer from that, but they shouldn't. They should feel confident in themselves and think, even with the help of their student, they can achieve those goals.
Exactly. And look at what you've achieved rather than what you've done wrong. I think a lot of the time we always focus on the things we haven't done or that we didn't do right or, that we could have done better. But I think we do it in feedback, don't we? When we give each other feedback, we always start with, well, I liked what you did with this and with that. But with ourselves, we don't. I mean, I don't. I know I don't. I don't think, well, I did that really well or I really nailed that part. I always just focus on the things that didn't go well. And I think it's good to do that yourself. Just think, well, 90% of that lesson was really good. There was a bit that wasn't, but the majority of it was. So
Okay.
that's a really important thing to remember. And what about you? Have you got any pro tips?
I think for teachers, just be patient.
That's true.
Just wait. I mean, you can wait a long time for the answers. You can give your students time to themselves to work on a task. You don't need to be nervous about silence. That's okay. If the students are there, if they're thinking about something, they're processing their thoughts, it's not a problem for it to be quiet. So yeah, just learn to be patient. I think that took me a long time to develop.
Yeah, that's a good point. Patient with the timing of giving answers, patient with how long it takes to learn something, generally.
Well, that leads us to a learning tip. Yeah, exactly. As a learner, you need to be quite patient.
In what way patient, Gav? From a learner's point of view?
Because it takes a long time to learn a language.
Ah, yeah. You don't get results overnight. I get that. Yeah, good.
So what's your learning tip?
I think just take a break. It's kind of connected to the patience, I suppose. Just be aware that it's not going to happen quickly, and it doesn't matter if you put in more hours. At some point, you stop learning it, I think. Like from my own experience, I know I can only do these sort of short periods of intense learning, and then I need to stop. And it does absorb, and then you go back and you sort of... you know it more or you can remember it. But if you just keep going, I just don't think you get as good result.
Do you feel that you hit a wall at some point of learning?
Yeah, exactly. And again, like tying into that, I think repetition is the key. Just keep going back to things, and by the 4th, 5th, 6th time, you might remember it, but you're not going to remember it the first time you see new language. So, yeah.
That's a very good tip. I've got a bonus tip, which is variety. I always say just find as many different resources as possible, whether
That's
it's
good.
listening, reading, writing, whatever it is. If you've got an opportunity to speak the language as well, just use all of those resources.
I think that actually extends your time that you can actually study, because if you're doing something from a book, you can then change to something else, do some listening, and then change to watching something or reading something. And actually, I think just like you say, those different activities change your focus and it's a bit of a break. So even if you don't want to stop, just maybe change. So yeah, maybe variety trumps a break.
Maybe,
in a
because
way.
you don't realise how much time you spend if you're constantly changing things or doing other things at the same time. If I think when I'm on my exercise bike and I'm studying languages, the time flies by.
Right, yeah.
I don't
yeah.
realise how quickly it goes. So maybe combining things as well, if
Okay.
possible.
I think, yeah, variety, but I suppose I'm thinking take a break when you feel fatigued. When you feel
Sure.
like you're struggling, stop. Some people just keep going thinking that it will eventually, go in. But I
Yeah.
think that's your brain's way of saying, no, this is enough.
That's it, take a break. Well, on the topic of language learning, I know you're learning a language. How is it going, and what, Em, is your greatest achievement so far?
Well, I think I was watching a film in my target language with subtitles in English, and I could understand about 2% of the film. And I actually understood a couple of sentences.
That's
And I
amazing.
felt amazing.
Wow.
Like I'd broken through to the other side and I had some knowledge and I could understand something.
That's brilliant. So it gave you a really positive feeling. You thought, actually, I have made progress in this
Yeah.
language.
Just, yeah, when it starts to click, I
Okay.
think you just, that feeling of, yeah, it's working.
So to click into place. That's a really good point. Like, it could be a small goal. It doesn't have to be, I want to understand everything from this TV program. But if I could just pick up a few words,
Yeah.
and then that would give me a good sense of achievement.
Yeah. Can you tell me something you've achieved so far with your learning?
I am quite pleased with how much vocabulary I've learnt. I think I'm quite surprised in how many words I've retained in the target language, the vocabulary specifically. I think I'm still struggling with putting sentences together. But I'm being very patient, and I think it's just going to take time. But there was a moment where I had to have an exchange with somebody in that language, and it was okay. I just kind of said, like, how are you? And the person said, I'm fine. How are you? I said, I'm fine too. And that was it. And I thought, well, okay. Again, it's like small achievements.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I think I've done the same where I've had a small sort of how are you chit chat. And I've sort of felt the need to do it again in English because it didn't really, for me, it was like in the language, it just seemed so strange that I didn't feel like it was authentic. But of course it was.
Oh, it sounds very real.
yeah. It's
wonderful.
just funny to sort of realise these milestones
Yeah.
you've achieved. It's nice.
Yeah. Successes. What
Yes.
about failures? Why do learners fail?
Well, maybe motivation. Maybe they don't have a reason to learn, so they don't feel that push to keep going. And like anything, you buy the exercise equipment in January, who's using it by April? I think we can all identify with that, can't we? So I think it's just about that drive, really, that you've got something there in the future that you need to achieve, or a test or whatever it is. And we just get lazy. We're human. I think it's hard to push yourself. So, other people might be able to push you, but it's hard to find that yourself. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my tip for avoiding failure is, as I mentioned, just have small goals, like both of us have mentioned. Have small goals. Just think, I want to recognise a couple of words in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I did it and I achieved it. And I feel really happy about that. I think it's a great success. It's when your goals are too big, you think, oh, within 3 months, I want to be able to have quite an in-depth conversation, or to be able to read a whole book in this language, where I just don't think that's a realistic goal to set yourself.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get the right balance and the right goal, because you don't want to set yourself too little goal, because then you're not going to really strive for it. But yeah, I think it is about the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
Em,
Yeah.
have you got a favourite podcast?
Oh, I've got loads.
Okay.
Loads of podcasts. So we've already mentioned in our last podcast, episode 3, season 2, Small Bites.
Yes.
Love Small Bites. Listen to that every week. Also, Ologies. Do you know Ologies?
What's that?
It's a science podcast about different topics and different ologies. So biology and meteorology and all these different ologies. Wow. Yeah, really, really interesting topics. The Guardian, I listen to a lot of the Guardian podcasts, the news ones they have. And The Illusionist, which is about language and linguistics and word definition origins. That's a really good one too.
They all sound fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you got more? I've got more, but I thought I'd give you a chance to come in with some.
Well, if I just look at my favourites on my favourite podcast hosting app.
As long as you're still recording this podcast and you haven't closed that app.
Oh, I haven't done anything. Right. I've got so many. You're right. Small Bites is there. I do listen to Dear Hank and John every week, and I really enjoy it, and I think it's really funny.
What's that?
It's two brothers answering questions about kind of everyday issues. It's a little bit sciencey as well. That's kind of fun. That's good. I also like... one of my favourites is Imagine Otherwise, which is really good. So Google that if you're interested. It's about art and activism, academia, and kind of bringing that all together in really good interviews with some really fascinating people. So yeah, there's just a couple of my favourites.
And we should mention Erin on Everything EFL. That's
Definitely.
A really good one for teachers.
That's
and give you a lot of tips.
Exactly. Okay, very good. Em, I am sure that all the listeners are desperate to know what your workstation looks like.
Workstation. That's a nice phrase. It sounds really like you've got 3 monitors, keyboard, one of those nice soft gamey chairs that people have.
Ergonomics.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
It's not what I've got. I wouldn't call it a workstation. I'd call it, I don't know, a work hole, maybe something like that.
Okay.
It's just the corner of my kitchen.
Oh.
On my kitchen table, and I use an Apple box to put my laptop stand on. And then
Apple, the computer company?
Apple.
Oh.
So I've got
a
an
fruit
Apple
box.
Yeah, a fruit box for the laptop stand, and then the laptop's on top of that.
Oh.
So I've got one window opposite me. I try and open the curtains so there's as much light as possible. I was always thinking this was a temporary arrangement, so I never really invested in anything comfy or worthwhile. I'm just managing on a very hard kitchen chair with a cushion, and it's not ideal. Are you set up lovely stuff?
I've taken to sit on the sofa.
Oh, see, that's the slippery slope, in my opinion.
Is it? I don't know. I sit there cross-legged, which actually does get painful after a while, but,
like a yoga position.
I'm doing a bit of stretching, yeah.
Okay.
But at the end of last year, I was doing quite a bit on the bicycle. So I was cycling on an exercise bike.
You've kind of changed quite a lot from the bicycle to the sofa.
So I'm sort of moving around a bit, but no, I don't think it's a slippery slope to what?
To the bed, I think, where you're like basically horizontal, just waking up, opening your laptop, saying, right, I've got my lessons.
I don't think it will come to that, no.
Yeah, well, you said that last year about the sofa, and look where you are.
No, but I've wanted to sit on the sofa for a long time, and now it's available. Yeah.
What do you mean now it's available? What happened? Did something become vacant?
It was being occupied. Okay, but now it's free, so it's mine to sit on.
All right, I hope everything's okay at home.
Yeah, it's all good. So that's it. That's basically my workstation with a table, just my laptop sitting in front of me, and a decent pair of headphones so the student can hear you. I'm still not keen on Bluetooth headphones. I just don't think the quality's there yet.
Right,
but anyway, don't get me started on headphones.
Okay.
So can you tell me, what did you teach this week, Em?
This week, Gav, I have been teaching phrasal verbs.
Phrasal verbs?
Yeah, and it's nice. I'm still online, so I've got a document with a PDF, and it's got a picture, a small picture, and then it's got a sentence with the phrasal verb in it, And then above that, it's got a definition of the phrasal verb, but I've blocked that out with the text box.
Oh.
So basically, the students are just reading the sentence, and then they need to say what the phrasal verb means.
Where did you get this from?
You.
Really?
Yes, it's one of yours.
Oh, it must be very good then.
Yes, it is very good quality material. So, yeah, so they have to get the meaning from the context.
So if I can just describe the situation where they might need this.
Yeah.
For example, they're in a meeting or they're on the phone and a colleague maybe uses a phrasal verb in context, and then the student has to figure out what the meaning of that phrasal verb is.
So, yeah, actually figure out was one of those phrasal verbs in that exercise. So, yes, exactly right. I mean, you can give students a list of phrasal verbs, like the top 50.
I've seen like 50 phrasal verbs containing the word down.
Exactly. And it's fine, but it doesn't really help, I don't think, to have this list and there's no meaning and it doesn't go in. So these ones are with some context, which really works, I think. I hope. I'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, so are you going to revise that? You're going to... Right, how will you do that?
Not sure yet. Haven't worked that out.
So you'll maybe in the next lesson, you'll say, this is the context. Maybe you want to say this phrase, but is there a phrasal verb to replace it?
I like it, Gav.
Is more common.
That's it. That's my next week sorted. That's exactly what I'll do.
Because phrasal verbs are really good for more everyday language.
Yeah, so I will. I'll say, have you managed to solve that problem?
Figure out.
Exactly.
Oh, I like it. Oh, that's very clever. Me?
Yes, you. What have you been doing, Gav?
I have been looking at a diagram of a bicycle and identifying the different parts. Because as the weather's improving, my students are thinking about going outside, maybe purchasing a new bicycle. So, yeah, you might need to identify some of these key features of the bike.
But like saddle and handlebars and chain.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, nice.
Exactly. Yeah, I've written a nice worksheet, actually, that practices all of this.
I'll have that if you don't mind.
Okay. And today we were talking about an underwater car.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is slightly more out of the box
That was
stuff.
different, yeah. Well, on the theme of vehicles, perhaps. And also we talked about tax in different countries.
The same lesson?
No, these were 3 different lessons.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So we were jumping around quite a bit there, yeah.
Joys of teaching.
Yeah. You have to be kind of prepared to talk about anything, really. But all interesting, quite fascinating.
Nice.
Have you got an anecdote for us, Em?
From this week? Yes, actually. I can think of something yesterday that was quite funny. I had a new student.
Yeah.
He was I won't tell you actually. He was in a location, and so I logged on and I opened the meeting, and he was sitting on a balcony with this amazing blue sky behind him.
One of those video backgrounds.
Well, I thought it
effects.
was. I actually did think it was a background.
What's it called? A screensaver or something?
I don't know. Well, they just call it a background effect. I actually thought it was, and then he said no, it was real. But he was wearing Bluetooth headphones, and maybe there was a problem with his Wi-Fi. I'm not exactly sure. But when I said to him, "Wow, that looks beautiful. Where are you?" Every time he said, "I'm in," it just cut out.
Oh no!
So I couldn't hear the name of the place or even anything. So I asked him 3 times, "Where are you?" And every time he said, "I'm in," cut out. And then we actually lost the connection completely.
Oh no!
So then I thought, oh no. So we reconnected, and it was a new student, so it was sort of a bit. I wanted it to be going well, and it wasn't going well. It was just painful. And then I just said, right, I'm really sorry, but every time I've asked you this question, I can't hear the answer. So just once more. And I just prayed that I would hear it. And he said, yes, I am in Madeira.
Oh, wow. That's very special.
Lovely.
So that was a real blue sky behind him.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I was looking out my window and it was just drizzle, like grey drizzle. But so that's sort of the anecdote I can provide you.
That's lovely, because that fits perfectly with phrasal verbs.
Does it?
It cut out.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, the sound cut out. I can't even think of another way to say cut out.
No.
The microphone failed? Sounds weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, people say
There was an interruption?
Yeah, exactly, interruption, but that sounds a bit too formal. So
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
exactly right. Cut
Okay.
out is the right word.
Good. I like the way you connected your anecdote. Actually,
You actually did that.
should we
but
make this a new feature of our podcast?
No, because I couldn't remember saying it a minute ago, so I don't think so.
No, I mean we could have an anecdote each show.
Oh no, I'm not. I can't remember anything interesting very
All right.
often.
Is there anywhere unusual that you've taught?
Well, actual lessons, not as much, but I've been to places like buildings where I was teaching at a TV tower, so we went up to the top of the TV tower for the sunrise at I think 7:30 or something. It was lovely, so that's a nice memory. But yeah, I've taught lots of different places. I did have lessons in a cancer ward in a hospital, which was a very interesting experience.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes working with doctors, you do need to be on site, and that can be quite an experience.
It was, and I think it got easier as I went, through the year. But the first time was a bit of a shock. And you, Gav?
No, I can't think of anywhere. Have I ever taught on a submarine?
I was thinking a submarine then.
Yeah, I think there's been some unusual places. I think a nice memory was with a student. We went to a park and we watched people playing tennis.
Oh.
And we talked about that and about parks and sports and leisure and stuff. That was really fun. I like that.
Yeah, I like the outdoors lessons if the weather's okay. Or I remember just sitting on a park bench with papers on my knees, trying to stop my hair from flying around. And sometimes it's lovely, and other times it's just a bit troublesome.
So that should be in your teacher's resources kit to have a hairband.
Yes, oh good. I'll go back to the beginning. That is a teacher's tip. If you're having an outdoor lesson, take a hairband.
Okay, or sunglasses if it's too bright.
Exactly that.
I've got a question here from one of our listeners. His name is Gav, and he wants to know, Gavin M, what is your favourite episode of HTETALWGAE?
That is a very catchy acronym. Is that How to English Teach and Learn with Gavin M?
You've got it. How did you remember that?
That's ugly. My favourite episode? Ooh, I think it was episode 32. Do you remember what it was?
Episode 32 is...
How Gav Teaches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very kind.
I really enjoyed it because it was from your way of teaching and I was the student, and I think I learnt quite a bit that day.
That's
it was
amazing.
Nice.
Episode 32, did you say?
Yeah, 32. Okay. If you want to go back.
So I'm definitely going to go back and listen to that again.
Listen to yourself.
Really interesting. Well, I should say episode 33, because I think, did we then have you after me?
Yeah, we did, but I feel like that's a slight afterthought. So why don't you tell me your favourite episode, Gav?
Well, my favourite episodes actually are episodes 11 to 17.
What were
These
they?
are the how-to episodes. So they were like how to speaking, how to listening, how to grammar,
Those
how to
awful
vocabulary.
grammatically incorrect sentences.
I know. We've had a lot of pushback from this. People are not happy with our how-to.
It was just
English.
for fun, you
I know.
everybody took it too seriously.
I know, but they're not that keen on the title.
No.
How to English.
We did think about it when we decided, and we said, hey, English evolves.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Exactly, and it gets some pretty good hits on the internet.
Does it?
Yeah.
What are you saying? Yeah, okay. There we go.
It works out. So if anybody wants to go back and hear M's favourite episode, which kindly is all about me, or my favourite episodes, which are the how-to ones from last year, so definitely go back and check them out. So I've got another question for you, Em. It's how do you wind down? That's a phrasal verb.
How do I wind down? Well, definitely I don't talk. I stop talking for a while and I watch reality television.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
I watch mindless rubbish.
Wow, you surprised me. I imagine you have lots of documentaries on insightful topics.
I do that too, but on a Friday afternoon, to be honest, I don't want to think about anything. I just want to watch people argue with each other and throw stuff around and, just the sort of rubbishy programs like that.
Sounds very entertaining.
And what about you? How do you wind down?
I am quite active. I do like to do a bit of running.
Uh-huh.
Have I mentioned the exercise bike?
Yeah, a couple of times have.
Yeah, I like a little bit of sports. I'm learning a language. That's taken up quite a bit of my time.
Does that help you wind down, though?
It does a bit, yeah, because I mentioned I do a lot of listening to it and I actually quite enjoy sort of passively learning the language. And then I can always get on with something else as well if I might be doing the washing up, for example.
Yeah, well, that in itself is quite nice.
Very relaxing doing some of these menial tasks around the house.
Exactly. You just turn off your brain and, do something physical.
Got one last question for you, final question, which might be a bit tricky, Em. It's... how do you deal with difficult grammar?
How do I deal with difficult grammar? You mean like how do I teach it?
Yeah, how do you teach it?
Slowly.
And is this how the students learn it?
Slowly?
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose if I'm teaching it slowly, they're going to learn it slowly.
So you're breaking it down, phrasal verb.
Did I say that? But okay, break it down.
You're teaching it in bits. You're not overwhelming the student.
Yes.
Overloading.
Yes. Lots of examples.
Okay.
Lots of checking questions and revision.
But keep it interesting.
Yes, relevant. Keep it related to the student so that it's memorable.
Oh, wow. Okay, we're throwing a lot of ideas out here.
Yeah, well, I think we did talk about this in the grammar, how to grammar episode.
Okay.
But yes, keep it memorable and relevant.
Yeah. And me?
And you? I'm not good at this, am I? And you?
You're just looking at me blankly. Have we finished now?
I was just wondering whether I had anything else to say.
Well, you can keep thinking while I'm talking, can't you?
Sorry, I'm really sorry. So what about you, Gav? How do you teach it?
I use lots of pictures.
Why?
Because I think students respond well to pictures. It's more stimulating. It's less pressure on the bits of language. It's, instead it's like, let's combine this picture with some words or some sentences. Let's give it a context. Let's just make it a bit more realistic to normal life rather than, this is an academic practice, which, to be honest, a lot of my students don't really want to do the academic side. They want the fun side.
I like the pictures because then the students are producing the language themselves. It's not just given to them. So that you look at a picture, how would you describe it? Or what's that person doing? Or what has that person been doing? Or what will that person do? And they've actually got to formulate that from their own ideas. And it's not just like, look at this sentence, what does it mean? But I mean, that has its uses too. But yeah, I definitely think visual things really help to make it memorable, as we've said.
In my experience, I go back the next week and say, okay, so what do you remember? And they say, oh, there was that funny picture. And then they can sort of bring the language back from that rather than, they don't immediately say it was present perfect continuous. They say, no, there was a picture of a woman and she had been baking cakes and she had made 7 cookies or something. That's it, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think we're on the same wavelength, Em.
Do you?
Yes.
All right, good.
So check out everything that we've mentioned in the podcast. Go and do it. I hope you've been writing notes throughout, listener, and go and have a listen to our favourite podcasts by all those amazing people that we mentioned, including us. And and don't forget to wind down.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
Yes, Gav.
Thanks very much. Tell the listeners where they can find us.
They can find us wherever they get their podcasts.
That's it. And YouTube.
Yay.
Okay. Check us out on Instagram.
See you later.
Thanks then.
Bye.
Bye.